Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. Well, I just finished filling up Sparky's feeder and fed the cats. So I'm going to let all these, well, I'm going to let the first two pens out. I'm not letting the third pen out with these two because that young teenage rooster there will fly over the fence and I don't want to go through what I did last time to catch him. So we'll let them all out. I have gotten 13 eggs several days in the last week or so through the holidays. So there's 4 in here today. There was 5 yesterday. Look at there. Their feeder is almost completely empty. I got to fill it up. It's early in the afternoon, so there could be another egg or 2, but yep, there's only 2 in the adult pen. I got 3 yesterday. And I'm not going to open this one because they will run me over to get out. 1 on the ground. At least 4 in the nest, so 5 in this pen. But I'm going to let them scratch a little bit. There's not much out here. I'm going to throw some feed out here. But anyway, look at her. She has to get up in the other people's nesting box. But let me get the feeders filled up and throw some out for them to scratch. And I'll be back with y'all shortly. All right, all 3 of the feeders are full. And like I said, this first pen, boy, them hens tried to push me out of the way to get out. I like to not being able to hold them back. But it's just that rooster that I'm really worried about. But while I was in there, I picked up that egg off the ground and put it in the nesting box. There's actually 6 eggs in there. So, plus the 2 in the middle pen will be 8. And 4 over here is 12. So, might get another 1 or 2 today. We will find out. Still got a few hours before dark. So, but there's something I need to do. These little automatic waterers that's got the little float in them work really well as far as making sure they have water, but they do not have a real great stop the water system. That float just doesn't always work. And both of them are overrunning, but that last one in the last pen is keeping that whole corner of the pen muddy, and that's helping the chickens' feet get muddy and then the eggs get muddy. So I am going to turn the water off to it, dump it, and bring it out and see if I can't get that to stop leaking. And then I'm going to also do this older one in the middle 2 pens here. And basically it has a little rubber stopper that the float pushes on when it rises up. It pushes it back and stops the water. Well, what I've done in the past is take a little tiny washer and put on that back side of the rubber plunger so that when the float comes up, it pushes a little harder and stops the water. So we will just have to see if I can fix them, but it is a pain in the butt. They're great to keep them water, but they do make a mess, and I'm tired of those having muddy feet. I had to break some hard clumps of mud off of one of the older hens, I think last week, where she had walked in it so much it got clumped up on 2 of her toes. So I'm going to take a few minutes and try to fix those waterers. Go get me a towel, you know, wipe my hands with, and turn them off and get them out of there. And when I'm done, if I can get them to stop leaking, I'm going to throw some hay in the first pen on the ground just to give them, you know, a way to stay off the mud. The other 2 have got enough out there that they do, but I need to refill the nesting boxes again. So anywho, I'm going to get to that, and I will give y'all an update in a little bit on whether I was successful on stopping the leak or not. So some of you may run into the same problem, and you know, it's not a as far as wasting water problem right now in good times, but when crap hits the fan, their water will come from rain catchment, and you know, for as much as possible anyway. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I worked on a guy's air conditioner today, and he's got 3 dogs on runners like I do. His are like 30-foot runners or something, but mine's 240 feet for Sparky. And I had another dog on another runner. Let me turn around here. On this side from the telephone pole where his runner ends up on the other side of the house, way back there, down here to one of these trees. And I had another dog on it, but she died on me, so I just haven't put a second one up. I still have the cable and all. But anyway, what I noticed was he had ducks, he had goats, and he had chickens. And I've been wanting to fence in the woods back there, which is going to cost me at least $1,500 to $1,800 in fence materials and some help to do it, if not a little more. And that's a lot of money. So that's why I haven't done it. But he's got an area fenced in that's about the size of my little fruit orchard here, with maybe twice that size, with some goats inside there, just T-post and 4-foot fence. And I'm thinking, well, you know what, I'm putting off getting goats because I can't afford to fence that whole wooded area in back there. But hey, I could do a smaller pen and go ahead and get a few goats. In the same way with the rabbits, I need to finish the rabbit boxes so I can get some rabbits and put in there. And anyway, I was just thinking, sometimes your plans in your head, you don't really think about how you're kind of putting things off that really don't have to be put off that long. I'm trying to take the whole pie and fence it in when I could do one little section and be fine with starting out. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. Maybe in the next month or so, if things work out, I'll be able to get the fence and T-post and all to do a smaller pen. I don't want to fence in my fruit orchard here because they will eat all the blueberries and the figs and the grapes and that stuff. So I don't want them to harm my fruit orchard. And it's not a big enough space behind it back here. And my garden usually stops right in here. So I'm thinking if I do that whole area right back there, it would be smaller, but big enough to keep 2 or 3 goats in until I get the rest of the fenced in area done. And, quit procrastinating and using excuses for not getting it done. So if y'all want to, send me some comments on the video or send me an email or whatever and give me your suggestions, what you think you would do. Would you wait to fence it's about 2 acres of the woods area back there that I want to fence in, 2, maybe 2.5, somewhere between that area? Or would you go ahead and start off with a smaller pen and grow as you could? So let me know what y'all think. And the same way with the rabbits. Do I need to go ahead and get them all finished? I've already got feed, or just start off with 1 or 2 at a time. Let me know what y'all think. But I'll get back with y'all when I get through working on these waterers and see if I can stop them from leaking. And, one more chore down. Alright, so all you got to do to these waterers is take the hose out. It's a female end on here. And then screw this end off. And the next thing I got to do is take this little nut off right here so I can pull the whole thing out and see what I can do with it. So they're bad about leaking around these threads here. And I like using this Mega Tape thread tape. This stuff works really well and it takes less of it. You don't have to wrap it as many times. So let's see if I can get it off of there. Don't say I might not could get it off. I hope the volume's working good. My daughter and son-in-law bought me a light and a microphone that plugs into my phone. So hopefully I can make some better quality videos for you guys, but I don't know how the sound is working. So hopefully it's working. But there's the little nut, and then there is a rubber washer, and I gotta get this to go through in order to, it's like a hose washer. Yep, exactly like a water hose washer that's supposed to stop it from leaking. And I can see I had some old thread tape on there. So I want to pull the pin out and release the float from the mechanism. I brought some paper towels so I could kind of clean the parts up a little bit. I'm going to wash them good before I put them back and bleach the bowl to try to slow that algae growth down some. But let me show y'all this rubber plunger that I was talking about. So, drop paper towel. So it's on the end of the float, and as the float rises from the pivot point right here, it pushes right here. Well, there's a little rubber peg inside there that just comes out. It just slides out if I can grab it. It's not very long. And basically, sometimes, especially with higher water pressures, it doesn't create enough pressure with the float lifting it up to stop the water from going through. So I want to get a washer that'll fit this and go behind it, so that the float will actually apply the pressure sooner. And it only takes, you know, that 32nd of an inch. But I've done it on one of my older ones, and it stopped it from leaking. So we're going to try it on this one. Let me go find the washer that fits it, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm using some Clorox cleanup. I use that for about everything I clean. Anyway, you got to wash it off good, but it really helps kill the algae and stuff. So I've got the stem washed, and I'll show you what I did in just a minute. Let me get through making this paper towel black. I'm going to go rinse it off right over there at the faucet, and then dry it out. I don't know if I set, no, I didn't set that up where y'all can see me at the faucet, but whatever. Alright, I'm going to take a couple more, wipe it again, because you can't get it all off the first try. This is one of the older Little Giant waterers that I have. And y'all know I'm not sponsored by Little Giant or anybody else. But I can't get it all off, but I can get most of it. And that bleach water will just help it not grow quite as much as fast. Because you just actually get rid of it. But I want to clean this really well where the float valve goes through. I don't want any trash there to help make it leak. So we've got that. Now I'm going to go clean this up a little bit. Get it all wiped down, and then I'll go over to, yeah, and I had thread tape on there, but I'm going to go over to the faucet and rinse it off really well. And then when I'm done, a little bleach in the water is not going to hurt them anyway, but this has got some cleaner in it that I don't know is safe to drink. So you do want to wash it out. But if I can get it wiped out, I might be able to tell how this thing works. It's really not that complicated. It's way simpler than a toilet valve. But basically, if you get here, you see inside it's got a little bit of a nipple The water comes in here and sprays out that little hole. That plunger pushes up against that little hole to stop the water from coming out. So high pressure water lines will not work with these things. It's kind of like those little drip waterers. I bought a bunch of them. My pressure is way too high for that. If you're using a barrel to supply the water, you know, gravity feed to your chicken pens, that's a great way to do it. My son-in-law did that with his, my oldest son-in-law. So, I mean, you can do it that way, but it will not work with anything more than 10 or 15 psi pressure because it's just not designed to take it. But let me go over here and wash this, rinse this off. We'll come back and we're going to put it together. All right. It's never going to be perfect, but it's out there with a bunch of chickens that poop all in their water anyway. So that's why you got to try to set it up to where they can't just stand there and poop in it. They do that on the nesting boxes a lot. It's irritating, but you can't stop a chicken from doing that. So, all right, let's see if I can wipe down the filter. I mean, not filter, the little rubber washer. Clean up the nut so it gets good threads. This end does not have a washer in it. Now the hose connection end does, but I'm going to thread tape this with this Mega Tape because it works so much better. And I know there's a lot of y'all that fight the same battle that I do as far as trying to keep your chicken pens relatively clean. Chickens are dirty anyway, but I'm about tired of dealing with the mud out there. So I'm going to add some thread tape to that, some of that Mega Tape, so this nut will go on a lot tighter. We'll slide it through the opening, get the washer put on it, which stretches, by the way. It's got to go way back there. And then put the lock nut. Now it's a square peg going in a round hole, basically, so you got to tighten it up pretty good, but it should work. Remember, it is plastic. Don't over tighten it. But I'm pretty sure that scrunched up that rubber washer pretty good. So I've got, and I'll show you what I did. I got some little bitty washers. And I took my lineman pliers or dikes, whatever you want to call them, and just snip a little off of it on the side and work my way all the way around so that the outside of the washer is small enough to fit in that space because it is just too big. I tried grinding the other one down and it is way too difficult to hold it in your hand that close to the wheel and not drop it. So I put it on a drill bit and let it spin, but it gets kind of hot, hard to hold. This works just as well. It doesn't matter if it's round. All you want is something to push that rubber stopper forward just a little bit. So that'll be for the next one that I do. So we're going to take this and put it in there. There is a little plastic pin that goes in it to hold it in place. And I'm pretty sure down is more, that's, yeah. So push this all the way down so it'll come up a little sooner. Put pressure on it, and it's got a nut with a flat going to try to tighten that just a little bit. It's pretty snug. But I don't want it to move, because the little cover that covers the float rusts out within a year or two. And I don't want it to do that. So and when I put it in, you see it's a little cockeyed. So now I can go back. Well, first of all, put this on, but I can go back and connect the water line to it and see if I'd like it to stop filling up about 3/4 of the way. I don't want it to fill to the rim. If it stops early, that's fine. But I don't want it to fill up to the rim so it runs over and makes a mess. Alright. So I got that pretty tight on there. Screwed all the way into the plastic nut. So if I can get the hose on it, I'm going to thread tape it as well, because these plastic threads don't grab real well. So I'm going to thread tape it and put it back on there, and then I'll come back and do the other one. Alright guys, so you know this one's not but a few months old, maybe 6, about as old as those chickens. So chickens may be a week or 2 older. But this one still has the metal guard over the float in the middle, which is not a vital part as long as the chickens don't stand on it. So normally they don't stand there when the water squirts out. But there's just 2 little screws that hold it down. That's all it is. So it just prevents them from hitting the float. So we'll pull the stopper out, take the float out, and we'll show you. These things come with an extra stopper stuck in there. So if you ever lose it or whatever, there is an extra one in there. I don't know why they do that, because it's not like that's the part that wears out, but they do. So I'm not going to take this apart because it's not leaking out here. I've already thread taped all that. This is the part that's leaking where that valve is, so I'm going to wash the inside of the bowl out, get it fairly clean, and see if I can't get that little metal washer put on there to help stop the water leakage, because it is terrible walking into a chicken pen when it's all muddy and poopy, and then the chickens get it on their feet, and then they get it on the eggs, and it's just a pain in the butt. So I brought more paper towels. I'm gonna wash this out real quick. I'm not worried about the hose. They're just gonna poop on it again. Actually, came out pretty clean. Got a little bit right there I want to wipe off, so we will get that done. Spray it with bleach again. And it came right off. Alright, go rinse it off because it actually came pretty clean. Alright, washed it out 3 times. So, see how clean it is? That's the important part. I don't care about the outside. So, if we can get this rubber stopper out and get that washer that I just trimmed. May have to trim it a little more. Out of there. There it is. We're going to try to stop this thing from making such a mess. Yep, it's got to be smaller. So, oh, knock the screw down. That's what happens when you drop stuff all day long, but anyway, I know y'all can't see that, but I'm going to just snip a little more off all the way around. Here's some wood knocking over there and across the woods. I don't know what they're building. Let's see if it'll set in there now. Yep. Put the little rubber stopper back in and put this back on. Doesn't matter which way you slide the pin through, as long as it goes through all the way. And it's adjusted to where it's going to stop as early as possible, because these things do tend to be a little bit of a pain to leak. So now I'm going to take the thread tape I got in my pocket back over there, thread tape the, well, actually that's already done, but I'll probably thread tape that Y that's on the faucet so that it won't leak. The less leaks, the better, so you don't have all that mud to deal with. The chickens get the mud on their feet because they like to scratch in it to get worms or whatever, and then they get it all over the eggs, and you got dirty eggs, and that's what I've been dealing with. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I refilled the laying boxes, and I put at least one egg back in each one. Just leave it there till they go to roost. I'm hoping that'll stop them from scratching it out. They got, you know, what they've scratched out on the ground. But the adult pen's got a lot more on the ground than the other. But I refilled their nesting boxes and left one egg in each one. There's only 2 eggs in there today so far. And I'm not going to open this door because of fighting them. But you see they're in there scratching it around. I threw it around and spreaded it out a little bit. Filled up their nesting boxes. Left eggs in each box. 2 eggs in each box. So hopefully they won't get in there and scratch it out. And I threw all this on the ground to help cover up some of this mud. And I'm really just hoping that it helps me get cleaner eggs so I don't have to, you know, worry about that. Because I don't want to wash them. I try to scrape the mud off, but I don't want to wash them because they, you know, they have that natural coating from the being laid that helps them stay fresh. Keeps the oxygen in the air out and stuff. But anyway, their feeders are full. They've got plenty. This is a quarter of a bale probably of hay to scratch around. Hopefully that will help keep their feet drier and the eggs cleaner. The waterer is stopping about halfway, which is great. It's not leaking on the outside at all. So it's not leaking at the faucet. It's not leaking out here. This one was actually running over was my problem. It wouldn't stop, wouldn't stop, wouldn't stop. And I had it adjusted all the way down to where it, you know, tried to stop as soon as possible, but it always seemed to manage to overrun. So this whole corner's sloppy, muddy, and that's why I put the hay in there. That's why I worked on the waterers today, trying to get a cleaner, drier environment for the chickens so that I can get cleaner eggs. You know, happy chickens makes happy egg eater, which is me. So anyway, I'm going to get this video edited for you guys. You see I drag it to up against to pull the hay out. But basically what I do is get one of those rain catchment barrel lids right there and just completely cover that lid and pile it up on there and then bring it in. And that door's a little skinny for that. But either way, it's worked out well. I've thrown a lot of layer pellets out on the ground down here and at the other end, and they have not even eaten it all. It's been well over an hour, so they're not hungry. They just want to get out here and play and you know, run and get some exercise. So it's really important to try to keep your pens as dry as possible. Their feet staying wet all the time can give them funguses and cause them problems. So anyway, that's why I did today, worked on the waterers, and look, that one there that didn't leak before is leaking now. So I may have to redo that one again, and I'm not going to put y'all through it. You saw how it works. So looks like that float is adjusted backwards, but either way, I'm gonna get off of here, and hope y'all have a great day. All right, guys. Ooh, this dark face. How about that? Is that better? I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it around because mine won't let me flip unless I stop the video and start over. So I'm gonna turn this around, and what y'all see is their water. It's stopping about halfway, which is a little early, but that's fine. They can get water out of that waterer just the way it is. And see the lid I got laid over? It's got a magnet that sticks to that little metal piece, and that magnet holds that lid above it so they can get their head and all in there and get water. But if they try to step on that magnet, it'll turn loose and flop sideways, and that typically keeps them from trying to roost on the waterer. So I'm gonna go in there and put their lid on it and see how we come out. I'm not sure what all y'all can see on there. Looks like you can see the faucet, but from that distance, you see how much water's coming out? It's just shooting out about 1 inch, 2 inch, and that's all the pressure or water volume I want to be able to come out in that waterer, because if you get too much, it's just going to overpower it. So they want out bad. But the lid, the little magnet on there, it just sits on top, so they can still get to it over here and they can get under it. But if they try to step on it and roost, it flips over, and that stops the chickens from pooping in their water so much. So I'd really like to let those chickens out. To me, letting them out to scratch is more of a treat than a necessity, because they're given all the food they need. And they laid 6 eggs today, so I really want to let them out, but I can't let that older teenager rooster out when the daddy rooster's out here. He will fly over this fence. So I'm probably going to go buy more wire this week or next week, very soon. That's part of another reason why I was putting off the goat thing, trying to finish the chicken. So I've got to buy post, I've got to buy the wire, and looking at anywhere from $200 to $300 to make this chicken run area 4 times bigger than what it is, maybe close to 5 times bigger. But the chickens need that space. So that's a priority right now, rather than getting goats and getting into more animals to take care of. I need to get my chicken raising and growing processing system completely done, so I don't have to do anything but feed and water them before I start on another project. So anyway, not really procrastinating on that, but I am going to try to finish this first, and then the next time that I can afford to spend a few $100, I'll go buy some fence or some T-post or whatever and try to get up what I need to do the goat pen. So that's coming along. My brother's goats just had 9 babies before all this freezing weather came. So as far as I know, they've all made it. So I could get some goats from him at a good price, and he'll teach me what all I need to feed them and all that good stuff. So, because I don't know enough about them. But anyway, guys, this is going to wrap this video up. I know it's probably longer than normal, but I'm honestly trying to create better content for you guys and show you that us YouTube creators that are showing you our livelihoods and our prepping and our animals, we do the same struggles that you do. I've been struggling with this water leaking for months, and it's just got to the point that it's got to be fixed. Now, it wasn't a problem when that freeze came around because, hey, running water doesn't freeze. But I had to get it fixed, so therefore it's done. I hope that doesn't give me any more problems so I can move on to the next thing, which is getting post and enlarging this chicken run area 4 or 5 times bigger than what it is. So the chickens will be happy, I'll be happy, then I can start working on getting what I need for the goat pen. So guys, remember what I always tell you, Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe and be prepared.